Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So, let's talk about the big elephant in the room right now. The absolute ghost haunting Salem. Stefano DiMera. Just when we all thought that Stefano had finally, truly run out of ways to mess with John and Marlena's lives, the show drops this massive, cryptic puzzle right in our laps. A missing chess piece. And not just any chess piece, but a pawn. I mean, my jaw hit the floor when they started putting the pieces together literally and figuratively. Because if you have been watching this show for as long as we have, you know that Stefano DiMera does not do anything by accident. Ever. The man was a master manipulator, a grandmaster of human chess. And he treated the people of Salem like they were just little wooden figures to be moved around on his twisted board. And now we have Chad and Belle deep in the middle of this. They are trying to figure out what this missing piece actually means. Their latest theory is that this missing pawn is the absolute key to understanding why Stefano left Marlena this bizarre, cryptic gift in the first place. Because let's be real for a second. Why would Stefano leave Marlena a chess set? He could have left her a letter. He could have left a videotape gloating about all his victories. He could have left a very clear set of instructions. But no, he leaves a game because Stefano never, ever played fair. He loved the game. He loved the chase. He loved the psychological torture of making his victims guess what he was going to do next. But this is what really gets me. This mystery might not actually be about a physical, missing chess piece at all. It might be about a message. A final, terrifying message that Stefano wants Marlena to spend the rest of her entire life trying to decode. Think about how sick and twisted that is. He wants to live in her head, rent-free forever. Even from beyond the grave, he is still pulling her strings. He is still forcing her to think about him every single day. And that is just so classic Stefano. Sometimes I really miss Joe Mascolo's presence on the screen, because nobody could deliver a villainous plot quite like him. But even without him physically there, his shadow is just suffocating the canvas right now. So let's break down the pawn. Why a pawn? The simplest explanation is that it's just one of Stefano's sick little jokes. A taunt. Because we all know the history here. We all know that Stefano spent literally decades turning John Black into his literal pawn. John was the pawn. That was his whole identity when he first showed up wrapped in bandages. Stefano completely erased John's life, his memories, his agency, and turned him into a weapon. A pawn to be used and discarded. And meanwhile, he was completely, terrifyingly obsessed with Marlena. He always viewed Marlena as his queen, his ultimate prize. So, leaving a chess set behind after his death is exactly the kind of arrogant, theatrical thing Stefano would do. But honestly, if the goal was just pure revenge, why leave a mystery? Stefano was never a guy who lacked confidence. He had a million different ways he could have messed with Marlena one last time. He could have spelled it all out. He could have ruined her financially or exposed some massive secret. Instead, he chose the one single route that guarantees everyone is going to be guessing, stressing, and looking over their shoulders for years. It makes this whole thing feel way more like a sick game than just a straightforward act of revenge. Stefano always enjoyed the hunt just as much as the kill. He loved watching people squirm. And this missing pawn? It's his way of keeping Marlena trapped in one final match with him long after he's dead and buried. And you guys, we have to remember the timing of all this. Stefano could not have predicted John's death before his own will was read. John passing away was a tragedy that Stefano didn't factor into this specific timeline. So this message, this twisted little game with the chess set, it was almost certainly meant for both of them. It was meant to torture John and Marlena together, to make John paranoid that he was going to lose his mind again, and to make Marlena terrified that Stefano was still coming for her, but now John is gone, and Marlena is left to face this final ghost all by herself. Well, not by herself, because she has Chad and Belle, but you get what I mean. It's just heartbreaking when you really think about the emotional weight of it all. Speaking of Chad, we need to talk about his theory, because Chad makes a really good point. Chad thinks that there might be another piece missing, or maybe even more than one, and I honestly think he is onto something. Stefano was never a guy who just had one single plan. He built his entire criminal empire on having backup plans for his backup plans. If plan A failed, he had plan B, C, and D already in motion. That is why it is so incredibly hard to just brush off this feeling that whatever is missing from that chessboard is only a tiny fraction of a much bigger, much darker picture. Chad knows his father. He knows how Stefano's mind works. If Chad is worried that there are more missing pieces, then we should all be terrified. And this brings me to the craziest, but also most logical part of the whole theory. What if the pawn represents a person, not just a piece of wood or marble, a real, living, breathing human being? This fits so perfectly with Stefano's history that it actually gives me chills. Like I said before, he literally treated human beings like chess pieces. He moved them around the globe, erased their memories, gave them new faces, and placed them exactly where they would serve his master plan the best. John was his ultimate pawn, but who is to say there isn't another one? Who is to say Stefano didn't brainwash someone else years ago and just leave them out there, waiting for a trigger word? What if the missing pawn is a warning, a giant flashing red light that Stefano left behind to say, hey, I'm gone, but my game is still playing. Maybe it's a clue pointing to someone that Stefano put into place a decade ago. A sleeper agent just living in Salem right now, completely unaware that they belong to Stefano DiMera. I mean, we have Dr. Rolf still running around Salem cooking up super serums and reviving dead people like Lexi. If Rolf is still active, then Stefano's legacy is still active. There could easily be another pawn walking around town, buying coffee at the Brady pub, completely clueless about their true identity. I just can't get over how brilliant and how evil this storyline is. It really honors the history of the show. Sometimes the writers give us these plots that feel so disconnected from the past. But this is pure, vintage Days of Our Lives. This is the core of the DiMera versus Brady Black War. And having Belle involved is just perfect. Belle is John's daughter. She is grieving her father, and now she is thrown into this mystery, trying to protect her mother from a dead man's obsession. And she's doing it with Chad, who is Stefano's son. You have the son of the villain and the daughter of the victim teaming up to solve the puzzle. It is poetic. It really is. But let's zoom out for a second and look at the bigger pattern here. Why now? Why is this chess set becoming such a massive focal point right at this moment? We know that Chad and Theo were looking at the set recently, and a literal key fell out of it, right into Theo's hands. A key. So it's not just a missing pawn. There is a physical key hidden inside the board. What does the key open? A safe deposit box? A secret room in the DiMera tunnels? A diary? Whatever it is, it proves that Stefano meticulously designed this entire experience. He wanted them to notice the missing piece. He wanted them to find the key. He is leading them on a scavenger hunt from hell. And you just know that whatever is at the end of this hunt is not going to be good news. Who actually believes this is going to end well? Nobody. Because Stefano doesn't leave prizes. He leaves traps. If I were Chad or Belle, I would take that chess set and throw it straight into the Salem River. Seriously, just get rid of it. But they can't, because the curiosity is too strong. And honestly, Marlena deserves to know the truth. After everything she has survived, the kidnappings, the cages, the mind control, the possessions, she deserves to close the book on Stefano DiMera once and for all. But I have a sinking feeling that this missing pawn is going to open a whole new chapter instead. I keep coming back to the idea of the pawn being a person. Because if it is a person, who could it be? Could it be someone we already know? Could it be someone who has been acting a little strange lately? Or maybe it's someone entirely new who is about to arrive in Salem. The possibilities are honestly endless, and that is what makes this so frustrating, but also so addictive to watch. You find yourself analyzing every single character's behavior, wondering if they are secretly Stefano's new pawn. It makes you paranoid, which, ironically, is exactly what Stefano wanted Marlena to feel. He wanted her to look at everyone around her and wonder if they were a threat. He is making us, the viewers, feel the exact same way. That is some next-level meta-storytelling right there. And let's not forget how this is affecting the current dynamics in Salem. Chad and Belle are spending all this time together trying to decode this message. They are bonding over this shared trauma of their family's twisted history. And we already know that EJ is getting super jealous of Chad and Belle hanging out. EJ is over there trying to use Cat Green to make Belle jealous, which is a whole other messy situation. But the point is, Stefano's little game from beyond the grave is already causing ripples. It is already causing drama between his sons. Even in death, Stefano is pitting people against each other. He is sowing discord. He just can't help himself. It's in his DNA. Maybe I'm being too dramatic about all of this. Maybe the missing pawn is just a missing pawn. Maybe Stefano just lost it under the couch at the DiMera mansion 10 years ago and never bothered to replace it. Okay, no, who am I kidding? This is Stefano. The man probably had the pawn custom made from the bones of his enemies or something crazy like that. He doesn't just lose things. If that piece is missing, it is because he removed it with a very specific, very calculated purpose. He placed it somewhere else, or he gave it to someone else. And until Chad, Belle, and Marlena figure out where that piece is, or who that piece is, they are never going to be safe. And think about the psychological toll this is taking on Marlena. She is already dealing with so much grief right now. She is spending her days talking to Julie, reminiscing about the men they loved and lost. She is trying to be the rock for her family, for Belle, for Brady. And now she has this dark, looming shadow of Stefano creeping back into her life. It is just so incredibly cruel. Stefano always knew exactly how to hit Marlena where it hurts the most. He knew that physical torture was never as effective as psychological torture. By leaving this incomplete chess set, he is basically whispering in her ear every single night. He is making her doubt her own safety. He is making her wonder if the nightmare is truly over. And honestly, knowing Stefano, the nightmare is probably just getting started. I just want to give Marlena a hug, you guys. She deserves a break. I am just so invested in this. I really hope the writers don't drop this plot line or rush the ending. We have been following the Stefano and Marlena saga for decades. It deserves a massive, epic conclusion. If this is truly Stefano's final message, his ultimate mic drop, then it needs to be huge. It needs to shake the foundation of Salem. Because if they build up all this mystery about a missing pawn and a hidden key, and it turns out to be something lame like a recipe for biscotti, I am going to lose my mind. But I have faith. The history is too rich. The stakes are too high. John's legacy is tied up in this too, and they need to honor that. So, what do you guys think? Are you as stressed out about this missing pawn as I am? Do you think Chad is right about there being more missing pieces? And most importantly, who do you think the new pawn is, if it actually is a person? Drop your wildest theories in the comments, because I need to talk about this with people who understand the crazy lore of this show. I am going to be obsessively watching every single scene with that chess set from now on. Every time they show it on screen, I am going to be pausing the TV and counting the pieces. It's exhausting being a soap fan sometimes, but honestly, I wouldn't trade it for anything. All right, I need to go refill my coffee and take a breath because I am way too worked up over a wooden chess piece. But that's the magic of Salem, right? It pulls you in and makes you care about the craziest things. Keep your eyes peeled, guys. Stefano DiMera is still playing the game, and it is our job to figure out his next move before he checkmates Marlena. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I will catch you all in the next update. Stay safe out there, and watch out for hidden keys.